This campaign is brought to you by BEFM, Busan 영어 방송.
It's not easy to make proper judgment in a sudden event of an earthquake. That's why it is essential that we practice emergency drills during our daily lives so that we can be prepared for any such circumstances. As soon as you feel the earthquake, hide your body under a table to protect yourself. When the shaking has stopped, shut off the gas valves and turn off the electricity, and locate your way of exit by opening the doors. If you're coming out of a multi-story building, use the stairs and definitely not the elevators. When outside the building, rush to an open field and cover your head while en route. Finally, tune into a broadcasting channel and keep yourself updated on what's happening and what to do next. But remember, prevention is the best solution. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM Busan 영어 방송.
지역 경제가 힘차게 출발합니다. 기업들이 고객을 향해 더 빨리 가려면 방송 광고라는 엑셀을 밟으세요. 경제도 기업도 더 힘차게 달려가니까요. 방송 광고의 작은 힘, 경제의 큰 힘입니다. 부산 방송광고발전협의회.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
How do you commute to work or just get around all day is the first question I'm going to toss out to you, the waivers. I'm sure many of you take the subway or other form of public transportation, especially with the rising cost of energy and fuel these days. However, what if you're a senior citizen? That whole debate over scaling back free subway rides for South Korea's senior citizens has returned to the foray after President Lee Jae-myung asked the ministers to look into limiting the benefits during rush hours. Mind you, this nationwide free transit program for those aged 65 and older, that's been offered regardless of time since 1984. To see the overall picture, I think it's important to note that the subway operators are dealing with mounting deficits. On the flip side, some civic groups warn against portraying seniors as a burden at a time when many are already facing economic hardship. So it is a conundrum, but I'm curious as to what you think about this whole free rides for seniors. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Thursday, March 26th on BEFM, 부산 영어 방송. Good morning, Wavers. I hope you're all doing well. And for those of you who did go to work yesterday, did you follow the recommended, the alternating car license plate, the days where you should and shouldn't take your car? Yes, I know it's a tough choice, but I'm hoping that more of us can actually try to adhere to that system. For right now, it is voluntary. They do recommend it. So I did want to throw out the whole subway story out there because that story is kind of brewing right now. People have different opinions. However, I want to turn our attention to this story. We've been talking about these fire-related stories, and the authorities in Daejeon, they are investigating the possibility of that unauthorized gym that could have led to the high number of casualties. The thing is this, these illegal or unauthorized structures are not just the problem of this one company. Reports say that in Busan, there are such maybe up to 8,000 illegal structures. And that is citing data from the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, and Transport. So these structures refer to existing buildings that have add-ons. So that's a 증축 that have not been authorized by the local municipality. Unauthorized wide-scale renovations or buildings that are being used for purposes maybe not stated in the original permit. And of these, Busan collectively paid 13.8 billion won in penalties. These penalties are imposed when the proprietor does not abide by the local government's orders to rectify the violation, to fix it. And the problem is that these unauthorized extensions or add-ons are more vulnerable to these fire hazards. And so these unauthorized structures usually aren't built in accordance with the fire codes, or they may lack fire extinguishers or evacuation paths. And these structures, seemingly, the numbers are on the rise. In the last 3 years, 2,804 new unauthorized buildings or spaces were found in Busan. And a lot of these cases are in the industrial areas. In many cases, owners, they just pay a fine and get it over with because it's cheaper and less hassle than renovating or tearing down these said structures. But again, as we saw with this Daejeon fire, these can be more vulnerable and costly in terms of human lives, most important. And that is definitely not an area where we want to cut corners. We shouldn't be cutting corners when it comes to, safety codes, building infrastructure, anything like that. So anyhow, that is our main story for today. All right, now it's time for a text topic. Oh, it's going to be one of those tough ones where you have to make a choice. Here we go. If you could get or maybe use one thing for free. We know we love that word free for the rest of your life. What would it be? 자, 이거 하나만 평생 무료로 쓰거나 받을 수 있다면 oh, the possibilities are endless. I'm going to throw out some choices out there. 외식비. 근데 외식비 하면 그냥 매일 나가서 먹을 것 같아요. I think if somebody gave me like free eating out, funds, then I'd be eating out every meal. Why would I be cooking? 택시비. Ooh, taxi fare. What about 전기세? If you throw in the whole 전기세 말고 그냥 그 관리비 포함 다 하면 maybe I would consider that. Or maybe your 월세. If you live on a monthly rent, which is quite common these days. Or maybe let's say your mortgage, like, you have a loan on your home. That's also very common. But that, for free, can you imagine? Like your entire life. So those are just some choices. Maybe you have another great idea. I would love to hear from you. Send in your messages to BFM's live stream live chat on YouTube. Go to the YouTube platform and type in BEFM, 부산 영어 방송, to find our channel. You can subscribe, log in, and chat with other waivers from your phone. Pound 9050, shop 9050. That's going to cost you 100 won. You can also reach me for free through Kakao Talk. So find us first. BEFM, 부산 영어 방송. Add us as a friend. And then you can send your messages and photos too if you like. The ways you can tune in to Morning Wave in Busan. There are several ways. First up, on the radio if you're in Busan, 90.5 or 103.3 FM. We're streaming live right now on YouTube. Check us out. We're available on the BEFM app, also the Papbang app. Both are free. Very easy to download. So let's look at the lineup for today. We have Jian with Now in Busan, Haley with Top Stories, and hour number 2, 와글와글 Tea Time. Dr. Ryu Sang-hyo is coming in for Ask Dr. Ryu, and we have Han for Cultural Interlude. And then for our special interview today. We all have it. We love it. Are we addicted though? Yes. When does it become an addiction? What am I talking about? Our smartphones. Because we're always on them. Aren't they like permanently attached to, our hands somehow? Do you take your phone with you to the bathroom? Okay. It was a rhetorical question. But I don't know who, but somebody said yes. Yes. I do too. I don't know. Like, I feel nervous. Like, how many emergency phone calls do you get when you're going to the bathroom? I don't know. But like, I just take it just in case there's an emergency and someone's trying to call me. Anyhow, we're going to take a look at that with our expert in hour number 2, and I'll be back with news overview. It's time for News Overview. It's now 7:08. Yi hails homegrown KF-21 fighter jets as historic. President Lee Jae-myung yesterday touted the country's first mass-produced homegrown KF-21 fighter jets as a symbol of aspirations for self-reliant defense, vowing to make South Korea one of the world's top 4 defense powers. Cheongwon-dae reassures stable LNG supply as emergency UAE oil arrives. The presidential office confirmed that a Qatari state-owned energy company has not formally decided to suspend its long-term liquefied natural gas or LNG contract with South Korea, reassuring that a stable LNG supply has come in even in case of such suspension. South Korea's birth rate rises to 0.99 in January. South Korea recorded nearly 27,000 births in January as the total fertility rate inched closer to 1, according to the Ministry of Data and Statistics. U.S. claims negotiations continue as Iran continues denial. The White House said that the U.S. is very close to meeting its core objectives in Iran and that the negotiations were ongoing, but Iran's foreign minister denied direct negotiations were taking place. Trump-Xi summit to take place in Beijing in May. The White House said that the summit between U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping will take place in Beijing on May 14th to 15th, after it was postponed because of the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran. And this was News Overview. It's time for Now in Busan. We have Jian in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yes. Well, I want to ask about our text topic. So maybe you have like a brilliant idea and everybody will jump on your bandwagon. No pressure. However, if you could get one thing free for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I will have a free flight.
Oh,
Yes,
that's a good one.
Flight. And if I can get a free flight, I would do a private jet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Was it brilliant enough?
Oh, that was brilliant. I like that.
Flight.
Free flights for life on a private jet. I love the simplicity and also the details at the same time.
Private jet, yes.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Nice.
For my entire life.
Oh,
That would be
nice.
nice.
That is very nice. Well, thank you for giving us food for thought as we scramble to come up with good answers. We're going to dive into our first local story. This is a big legal milestone for Busan. I hear a new specialized court is officially coming to the city. So tell us more.
Yes, Busan City held a public ceremony yesterday on the 25th to mark the confirmed establishment of the Busan Maritime and International Commercial Court.
Yes.
The event drew around 100 attendees, including Busan Mayor Park Hyung-jun, local politicians, academics, legal professionals, and representatives from the port and shipping industries.
I see. And what kinds of cases will the court handle?
The court will specialize in maritime, civil, administrative, and international commercial cases, with jurisdiction extending beyond Busan to cover the Yeongnam, Honam, and Jeju regions as well. Its establishment was officially confirmed last month after the relevant legislation passed the National Assembly with an opening date set for March 1st, 2028.
Right. So why is this such a big deal for Busan?
This one has been 15 years in the making, really the payoff of sustained public-private effort. Experts say it could seriously boost Busan's standing in international maritime dispute resolution, putting it in the same conversation soon as Singapore and London.
Oh, so this is indeed a big thing. So thanks for letting us know. This is great for our city. Moving on, Busan is making a push to attract more international medical tourists. So what's the city doing?
Busan City has selected 14 medical institutions as its leading partner facilities for attracting international patients. Selection was based on things like international patient infrastructure, multilingual staff, specialty areas, and how easily they can tie into wellness tourism.
I see. What kind of support will these institutions receive?
The city plans to back them with country-specific wellness and medical tourism packages, promotions on global travel platforms, and multilingual content. The bigger picture here is shifting away from one-off medical visits and toward longer stays that combine healthcare with everything Busan has to offer as a tourist destination.
I see. All right, moving on to our next story. Busan has been recognized for something that has become a growing trend. So we're talking about workcation.
Yes.
Tell us more about this.
Busan has been selected as the nation's top work and vacation city, often called a workation, where people work remotely while enjoying a vacation by the Korea Tourism Organization KTO, beating out other cities in a competitive public contest.
Yay.
The city was recognized for its strong combination of urban and natural environments, excellent work infrastructure citywide, and its status as a global tourist destination, drawing more than 3 million visitors a year.
Ooh, so what does this mean for Busan, practically speaking?
It comes with 200 million won in government funding, which the city will use to expand its workation offerings with the KTO. The city plans to develop a global workation model where work and leisure truly coexist, expanding hands-on programs using local spots and content to keep pulling in workers from across the country.
I see. So it seems Busan's really going all in on becoming kind of this real workation hub.
Yes, officials say this puts Busan's workation identity on the map, and the goal now is to make it a go-to destination for workers, both from around the country and abroad.
Yes, yes. So I like that. We're just adding all these titles onto our city.
Yes.
Next, some great news for anyone looking to go outside, get outside and enjoy the spring weather. What's happening at Busan Citizens Park?
Starting April 1st, the Haya리아 Lawn Plaza at Busan Citizens Park will be fully open to the public, which is great timing with spring just around the corner. And it's not just the lawn. Both Busan Citizens Park and Songsangyeon Plaza are getting more space and new programs this season.
Ooh, what can visitors expect when they head out there?
Small shade tents will be allowed on the lawn, making it much more comfortable for families spending the day outdoors.
Okay.
The lawn library is also coming back this year with age-specific reading zones and some interactive culture activities.
Ooh, that sounds nice. I like that they're letting the small tents that they're allowing them in now. And what about the regular fitness and leisure programs?
The park's well-loved open leisure culture classes, which draw around 16,000 participants a year, will also be back, offering health exercises and yoga programs from April through November.
Okay.
And over at Songsangyeon Plaza, they're adding a small streamside library and some youth dance events to bring in a younger crowd as well.
Nice. I like that they're trying to embrace all ages
Yes.
and, people of all walks of life.
Right.
Okay, so for final interesting content, we're going to talk about Busan City bringing in AI into the classroom. So we
Yes.
need to know about this.
The Busan Office of Education is stepping up its English education efforts by incorporating AI tools into elementary school classrooms. They're kicking things off with an online workshop for around 300 elementary English teachers and conversation instructors ahead of the new school year.
And what will the workshops cover?
Sessions will cover student-centered lesson examples and hands-on practice with an AI-based English learning program and strategies for building that AI teaching expertise over time.
So when we think about this, though, what's like the bigger goal here?
The Education Office hopes that by sharing practical, immediately applicable AI teaching methods, students' English communication skills will get a real boost.
Okay.
And teachers will feel more confident teaching in the AI classroom.
Right, definitely can't avoid it. So we got to embrace it and make it ours,
Right.
AI. Well, thank you for going over all the local news, and we'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Jian.
See you tomorrow.
All right, it's now time for your traffic and weather. It's now time for our traffic report at 7:18 on this Thursday morning. Let's talk about the Dongso overpass. It is congested from Hwangyong Ramp to Kaegum. It's backed up on Luno Samsungdaero from Myeongji Underpass to Shinho Bridge. Also backed up from Manduk intersection to Namhae Expressway Deokjeon Ramp. And there's traffic building on Gwanmundaero from Pangnam Tunnel to Baegang Tunnel. Currently, it's 7 degrees Celsius here in Busan. Under clear skies, the air quality is back to normal. It's going to be a warm day. It's expected to go up to 19 degrees today. Across the nation, a warm day with the daytime high going up to 23 degrees in some areas. So jealous. Although the morning low is around 0 in parts of Gangwon right now. Thick fog in the capital area, Chungcheong and Jeolla, to the point that flights may not be able to take off. So please check ahead of time if you do have travel plans. This was your traffic and weather. It's time for Top Stories. We have Haley in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good.
Yes,
good.
yes. So, I want your creative brain.
Here's the thing.
Yes.
I'm not thinking big. I was like, when Sian said private jets, I was like, because did you see my examples, like taxi fares? Oh my God. So
What were you thinking?
Guys, this is why I will never be rich.
Okay.
Because I'm like, bangkap.
Oh, bangkap is good.
Bangkap. Because I love bread.
Right,
I love
right.
carbs.
Yes.
Carbs, they are my favorite food group. And my family went to Kimhae the other day. And I bought like 3만 won worth of bang. Bread, as my mouth is watering, bread and pastries. And that lasted us like 24 hours.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys really like bread.
We
then.
we're a family of eaters.
Okay.
We're a family of healthy appetites. And so I'm like, I'm going to go bankrupt, trying to provide my family with
So
the
is that
literal breadwinner.
Final choice?
It's just, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
You're like, you're going to go with it.
The bangs.
Yes. I love some of the answers coming up. Like this one, Leslie, I would want free groceries for the rest of my life. Because food prices are crazy right now and will continue to be due to weather, politics, limited resources.
Inflation will only go up, right?
Yeah. Okay, so let's jump into what's happening in the Middle East because that's been affecting us, including consumer sentiment. We're going to cover the actual what's happening in the Middle East a little later on.
Right.
Yes.
So, in terms of the economy, people want free things. There is no free such lunch. But the Bank of Korea report showed that the Consumer Composite Sentiment Index, the CCSI, 소비자심리지수, came to 107 points for the month of March. So this index, the CCSI, it combines 6 indexes of how people perceive their current economic status, their conditions, their living conditions, household income, and economic perspective. Anything above 100 is positive sentiment. Anything below that is negative.
So I would think 107, doesn't that mean like it's good?
I mean, we are in the positives.
Yes.
But what I want to focus on is the margin of decrease compared to the previous month.
Okay.
Because that is a 5-point drop from February's 112 points. So that is the biggest 1-month drop since right after the 2024 martial law declaration.
I
Put
see.
that into context.
Okay.
Of course, the war in Iran has an impact on that. So because of this, people were fairly pessimistic about future economic prospects. According to an official from the Bank of Korea, this significant drop in the consumer sentiment index, it happened because of the rise in prices, concerns about economic stagnation, and volatilities in the stock market, which all stem from the conflict in the Middle East.
That's right. But more people seem to be more optimistic for the longer-term future?
Because we're hoping that conflict will eventually have to end, preferably sooner than later. So we're looking at data for 6 months out.
Yes.
So in terms of the interest rate prospect index, it predicts the benchmark interest rate 6 months from now. That was actually rosier. Home price prospect plummeted by 12 points, coming down to 96. What that meant is that consumers thought a year from now, home prices, housing prices were actually going to go down.
Ooh, yes,
That's what they thought. So will it? We'll have to see.
We're going to have to see. Thanks for letting us know about the Consumer Composite Sentiment Index once again. Yesterday, though, this story was making some headlines. A South Korean man dubbed the Drug King was extradited from the Philippines to Korea, right?
Right. So this is Park Kwang-ryul, who was brought back to South Korea yesterday morning. We saw photos of him handcuffed and surrounded by the police.
Yes.
So Park was found guilty of having murdered 3 Korean nationals at a sugarcane field in the Philippines 10 years ago. So he was sentenced to 60 years by a Filipino court.
Okay.
But now that he's been extradited, he will then go through a whole new criminal justice system here in South Korea.
Well, this man is quite notorious, not only for those, murders, but his criminal history before he was arrested.
To the point that his life was kind of an inspiration, seems a weird choice of word.
Right.
It wasn't an inspiration behind a series, a OTT series.
Yes,
so
yes.
This starts in 2011. So he was involved in a pyramid scheme called Ideas Holdings that collectively took 1.1 trillion won from over 10,000 people. Excuse me. At that point, he fled the country to the Philippines when investigation kind of closed in on him. And he, in the Philippines back then, was involved in the casino business. Also, in 2016, he provided a hideout to 3 Koreans who also fled the country, evading a different criminal investigation. But these 3 South Koreans became the 3 victims. Right. So in 2016, again, same year, Park colluded with a friend and killed these 3 men at a sugarcane field, shooting them. And it seems that there was a money investment dispute amongst them. And he actually was caught by the Filipino police, but managed to evade the prison on 2 separate occasions.
Like he escaped?
He escaped.
Wow. Okay. So his criminal activities continued even after he was in prison for murder.
Right. So while he was serving that 60-year prison sentence, he managed to operate as a drug distributor over Telegram.
Wait, but he was in prison?
He was in prison
So confused,
because that particular prison, also notorious for giving preferential, this VIP treatment to those who could pay. So if you could pay, I assume you could have a smartphone.
Sure.
But this ended after President Lee Jae-myung requested that Park be extradited during the summit he had with the Filipino president, Ferdinand Marcos Jr. So that's what brings him back to the country yesterday.
Right. So it really does literally seem like this is like a script out of a drama or a movie, and hence, as you said,
thus the series.
Yes. All right. Well, with this extradition, there is renewed attention over how many South Koreans are in custody overseas.
Right. So this case might be the most notorious, but it's not the only one by far. So according to the Foreign Ministry report that was released by Democratic Party lawmaker Kim Sang-wook, there were 1,163 South Koreans who are behind bars across 52 countries. The biggest, China. So 31% in China, 23% in Japan. So proximity definitely was a factor.
Okay.
Followed by Vietnam, the US, the Philippines, Thailand, and Cambodia. About a quarter of these cases were imprisoned for drug-related crimes at 262 cases, followed by scams at 258, and 131 convicted of murder. That's
high.
That's a very high number.
Okay.
There are actually 4 South Koreans on death row. And that's 사형수도. These are all in Vietnam. That's because Vietnam has capital punishment for murder and drug convictions. 691 were extradited in 2024, meaning they were brought back to Korea.
Right.
That number spiked to 828 last year.
Oh.
256 have been extradited in January and February of this year. So lawmaker Kim Sang-wook said that there's been this spike in transnational crimes like voice phishing and romance scams.
Okay.
And the government has also boosted its transnational cooperation to combat these crimes.
I see. Well, thanks for giving us the breakdown. All right, now we need some updates. What's happening in the Middle East?
Right. So are there talks? Are there not? So it seems like not talks, but messages are at least being conveyed. So Iran apparently received a ceasefire proposal from the United States. And in this particular case, the mediator is Pakistan. And these reportedly include sanctions relief, a rollback on Iran's nuclear program, and missile limits. Again, this is what the U.S. is reportedly proposing to Iran.
Yes.
However, the White House has not confirmed this.
Okay. So in terms of Iran, though, how has Iran responded to these reported conditions? Because, there's a lot of he said, they said going on. Yes.
Right. So according to Iranian state television,
Yes.
which quoted an unnamed official,
Right.
the country has rejected the U.S. proposal.
Okay.
Iranian officials have repeatedly said that they want a complete end to the war, not just a ceasefire.
Sure.
So Tehran, though, it outlined its own conditions. And that goes a complete halt, so a complete stop to the aggression and assassination by the enemy.
Okay.
Of course, not only the U.S., but Israel. They want an establishment of concrete mechanisms to ensure that the war is not reimposed, meaning this won't happen again, and
Okay.
they want that in writing or institutionalized. Also, money. They want compensation, reimbursement for war damages.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, there's a difference in opinion, and we'll, of course,
absolutely.
follow what happens. Well, let's move on. We have two stories on court cases against major social media platforms.
Right, so this news just came in about an hour ago. First, that major bellwether case we've been covering against Meta and YouTube. So a jury in LA, this is a California case, sided with the plaintiff, a young woman who sued Meta and YouTube over her childhood addiction to social media. So jurors in LA found that Meta, which owns Instagram, Facebook, and the messenger app WhatsApp,
Yes.
Google, which owns YouTube, these two companies intentionally built addictive social media platforms that harm this particular plaintiff's mental health.
Right.
So the plaintiff was awarded $3 million. An interesting breakdown. So
Okay.
jurors found Meta was 70% responsible for that harm. YouTube, 30% responsible. So very specific breakdown,
Yeah.
meaning that Meta will have to pay 70% of that $3 million award.
Yes.
Another form of damages, punitive damages. So it's not just compensation. So how damages for the wrongdoing of the company, that will have to be determined. But under California law, that could reach up to $30 million.
Wow. So this, once again, is a bellwether case. But a U.S. court has also ordered Meta to pay millions of dollars in civil penalties for the harm it caused its users.
Right, so we're now moving on to a separate case,
Yes.
but it's just not been a good set of 2 days for Meta. So a jury in New Mexico ordered Meta to pay $375 million. So the first case was $3 million to one person,
Yes.
but $375 million in civil penalties.
Okay.
After Meta, the parent company, again of Facebook and Instagram, was found to have misled consumers about the safety of its platforms. So the Attorney General who brought up this case said that Meta executives knew that their products harm children, but disregarded warnings from their own employees and lied to the public about what they knew.
Right. So as you said, this is a bellwether case for maybe many other cases to come. So can
Right.
you explain what that is?
Right, so bellwether case meaning it's kind of going to set precedents because not only the New Mexico case, but especially the California case, there are hundreds of parents, school districts, and attorney generals waiting for the results of this particular case to kind of provide guidance of how the other courts will rule on similar charges.
Yes. So tell us more about the lawsuit itself and what it says about these social media services.
Right, so it is confusing because we are talking about two separate cases that kind of seem similar, but the best way for me to explain this is that the California case, a $3 million case, is more about the internal harms of the social media algorithms. So
Okay.
let's just take me as an example. So if I am addicted to the social media algorithm, Instagram, because Instagram built its algorithm in such a way.
Right.
And the contents on Instagram and the endless scrolls especially made me feel very self-conscious about my body image, about comparing myself to others. That's a California case, and Meta and YouTube and Google were found guilty. This New Mexico case is about outside harm.
Outside
so,
harm.
Predators. Sex trafficking.
Okay.
When I was a teenager, I would receive random messages from adult men. And of course, I never responded because we were taught not to.
Right.
Some kids, maybe they weren't, and they were taught to, and they were then involved in made victims of traffic scams. And that actually started with an investigative report in 2023, which revealed how Facebook and Instagram had become marketplaces for child sex trafficking.
Okay.
This particular trial in New Mexico involved 6 weeks of testimony from CEO Mark Zuckerberg, the whistleblower, 내부 고발자, teachers, psychiatrists, and many more.
So do we know what kind of evidence was presented?
Right, so internal meta documents and testimony reveal that both company employees and external experts repeatedly warned the company about the existence of these harmful conditions.
Yes.
That 3 men were actually charged with sexually preying on children through Meta's platforms and even attempting to meet up with them. So due to this, the jury ordered Meta to pay the maximum penalty under the law of $5,000 per violation, which multiplied to $375 million in civil penalties.
Yes.
Meta, however, said it will appeal the ruling, saying that the state attorney made the sensational, irrelevant arguments. However, overall, again, with both cases, one expert said that these back-to-back verdicts kind of underline a breaking point between social media companies and how the public sees them.
Well, thank you for thoroughly laying it out for us and explaining the difference between the two cases. And of course, all the stories. We'll check in with you in hour number 2.
See you in a bit.
All right, everybody, this was Haley. And by the way, we are going to be interviewing an expert. It's kind of related. We're about smartphone addiction. That's coming up in hour number 2. In the meantime, I requested Throwback Thursday. And then this is the song that our producer, is it really throwback? Yeah, it is. What Makes You Beautiful by Wendy.
You're insecure, don't know what for. You're turning heads when you walk through the door. Don't need makeup to cover up. Being the way that you are is enough. Everyone else in the room can see it. Everyone else but you. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know, you don't know you're beautiful. If only you saw what I can see, you'll understand why I want you so desperately. Right now I'm looking at you and I can't believe you don't know, you don't know you're beautiful. That's what makes you beautiful. So come on, you got it wrong. To prove I'm right, I put it in a song. I don't know why you're being shy and turn away when I look into your eyes. Everyone else in the room can see it. Everyone else but you. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know, you don't know you're beautiful. If only you saw what I can see, you'll understand why I want you so desperately. Right now I'm looking at you and I can't believe you don't know, you don't know you're beautiful. That's what makes you beautiful. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know you're beautiful. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know, you don't know you're beautiful. If only you saw what I can see, you'll understand why I want you so desperately. Right now I'm looking at you
Now it's time to check in with the doctor. I love saying that. The doctor is in. Dr. Ryu.
안녕하세요.
How are you?
반갑습니다. Yeah. I have a lot of things to say about the kind of free thing that you receive
our text topic.
until for the rest of your life.
Do you like free things?
Yes, actually, the first thing that came across my mind was free medical expenses. But it's kind of a little gloomy because I get to see many patients, older age patients.
Sure.
They're suffering from kind of financial issues and the health issues. And then but I want to spice up a little bit. The second thing is I want to get maybe 1,000 or 10,000 lottery tickets for free for the rest of my life.
The fact that even Dr. Ryu dreams of winning the lot. 이거 왜 이렇게 와닿죠?
at least
lottery?
more than 1,000 tickets. 1,000 lottery tickets.
Okay.
And from all over the world. Big dream.
Wow. I've never seen Dr. Ryu so excited. Like looking at the camera, talking about lottery tickets. Love it. All right.
Okay.
So we have to talk about an issue that I think is very much, I don't know, 요즘에 this term, I've been hearing it so much.
Okay,
I'm
yes.
curious as to what you've brought us. And can you share with our listeners?
Okay, by the way, where
Yes.
did you get t-shirt? It looks really, really good for you.
The shirt?
Yes.
Oh, you like?
Yes.
뭐 커피 사드려요?
No.
뭐 어떻게 드릴까요?
I behaved like a
Yes.
little bit of ADHD.
Oh, so you were just role-playing.
Yeah, so today's topic is about ADHD.
Yes.
I think maybe a lot of people, patients, parents, teachers, may be aware of this one.
Yes.
And is kind of these is a little pervasive. So I'm gonna go over this one. What exactly ADHD is and what kind of medicine
Yes.
does really medicine work for you and any downside of it and things like that.
And the thing is this, like
Yes.
I said, like we've been hearing about it so much, ADHD. I feel like it's good that we're talking about it because it is an important issue. On the other hand, I do wonder, like, are people being like overdiagnosed or vice versa? Like, was it underdiagnosed before? So I have so many questions.
Yes.
Okay.
The first of all, ADHD stands for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
That's right.
It's a condition where the brain has difficulty regulating attention.
Yes.
And impulse control and sometimes activity levels.
Right.
But one important thing people should understand is this one. It's not to do with intelligence. Although many people with ADHD
Yes.
are highly intelligent, but not all of them. Anyhow, the issue is not how smart the brain is, but how the brain regulates focus and motivation.
Oh, that's a really good distinction.
Yes.
So, what exactly is happening in the brain? Because I do see like certain students, they've been open with me and say, oh, Professor, I have this. And then I'm like, oh, well, thank you for sharing. It's such a personal thing. So what exactly is happening in the brains of people who might have ADHD?
Yeah, long time ago, where science is not as developed as these days, people thought it's all to do with your mind, heart. But as a neurologist, it's all in your brain. So in our brain, when we look at our brain, there is a prefrontal cortex.
Yes,
Prefrontal cortex is 전두엽. Only human brains are the largest portion of these parts compared to other mammals or other animals on Earth. And that part controls planning, organizing, controlling impulse, and maintaining attention. But in that system, there's a key role neurotransmitter is dopamine.
Dopamine. Okay.
Yeah, dopamine is to do with reward and motivation. But ADHD patients have very fewer receptor. Even though they have a plenty of dopamine, their receptor is a little bit smaller than, fewer than normal individual. That's
see.
why they have trouble focusing on things. But interesting thing is that when they find something that catches their eyes or that catches their heart,
Yes.
they're hyper focused on things like
So it's like if something really interests them,
that's
then they
right.
can focus very well on that.
Yeah.
But maybe the other things, not so much so?
Yeah, that's right,
Okay,
exactly.
I get it.
Yeah, and also it's one of the most commonly diagnosed neuropsychiatric disorder in teenagers and in kids, among kids.
That's why I was asking. Like in the beginning, I was like, it just seems like I've been hearing this term a lot more, and maybe it's because people are more open about it. They're not trying to hide it, and they feel okay about talking about it, which is fine. But I do wonder though, like in Korea, it has become a hot topic. And some parents, and this is where it kind of gets me, some parents believe that ADHD medication might help their kids like study better. And you've heard it in the news, like, it's the medication is prescribed for someone with ADHD, but they're using it as a study aid.
Yeah, it's smart. It can make. Actually, the answer is honestly is no. It doesn't make you smarter.
Okay.
What it does to your body, it makes you feel a little more focused.
Yes.
But actually, it's nothing to do with your intelligence. Think of it this way: you're turning on a screen in your computer. The medicine makes it a little clearer.
Okay.
But it doesn't change its contents.
Like the screen. If you're the analogy of a computer screen.
That's right. Exactly. So in people with ADHD, these medications help bring brain activity up to a normal level. But in healthy individuals, there are many side effects, especially some people might experience anxiety or poor sleep and also have less efficiency when it comes to thinking.
So it could be counterproductive.
And rather it can be harmful. Especially, I told you, one of the most commonly psychiatric problems among teenagers.
Yes.
Their brain is developing.
Yes.
So when you have those developing kind of a flexible growing brain exposed to these kind of artificial medicine, it might block their development.
Okay.
It might do harm on their brain sprouting, brain connection, rewiring, and all those brain things. I don't want to have my kids, although I have only one kid, kind of a gamble on this medicine.
I see.
Yeah.
Because there are downsides. So
of course, exactly.
Okay. Well, many adults recently say that they have discovered that they have ADHD. So what's happening with that? Because, some people are like thinking when they were a child, looking back, like they were just very kind of, active, let's just say, right? 활발하고, 활기차고, maybe a little distracted at times. And some people might say, isn't that kind of normal? Like a phase? But other people might say, did I have ADHD? Do I have adult ADHD right now?
Okay.
Yes.
You brought up really important points.
Okay.
When you look at your childhood, you might have one of those experiences, symptoms like impulse control issues.
Not me, but yes. I'm saying yes, like I hear you.
Oh, yes. When I was young, I had a very impulse control issues.
Oh, you did?
Yes. To be honest with you, I'm going to be honest with you. When I was a kid, I remember when I wanted to have some kind of a toy.
Yes.
And mommy didn't want me to have that one.
Right.
I just lie on the floor and screaming. And
you
yelling.
had a tantrum.
Yeah, and I had a tantrum. And also, even if I didn't get the thing that I wanted,
yes,
I banged my head on the wall and then screaming and scratching, things like that.
Oh.
And anyhow,
you're one of those.
At some point in your life,
yes,
you have, I bet many of our waivers might experience these kind of symptoms during their childhood. But ADHD is a matter of degree. So it might interfere with their relationship and finance and work situations. Anyhow, the prevalence of ADHD is about 5%. 5%. But as we get older, it comes down to 2.5%. Anyway, when we are younger, their environments, like parents and teachers and the school structures, they helped them hide or manage their ADHD symptoms So the problem wasn't obvious yet. But on the other hand, on the other words, their symptoms are there, but they were masked by external supports.
Yes.
So and they have to be their own. They have to be on their own when they get older. But as you get older, you are in the society.
Yes.
There's no kind of a structured system.
That's true.
That's why all of the ADHD becomes more prevalent.
Yes. So I do want to talk about this, though. ADHD diagnoses, the number of the diagnoses seems to be increasing here in Korea. So people are worried. Is it being overdiagnosed? I would love to get your thoughts.
Okay. I think there are two reasons.
Okay.
One is awareness.
Yes.
People are really aware of that ADHD, and then many people are talking about ADHD now. Koreans know that. And the second thing is government started covering the insurance coverage about this one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So for the past couple of years, and
Yes.
the prevalence has increased about 5%, 5 to 10%. But the market of the medicine has increased 50 or 40 or 30 to 40%. And also although I mentioned the two things, but
Yes.
the third reason is I said earlier a long time ago many people thought that you would grow out of it.
Yeah.
But actually, they were dormant in their childhood. Actually, not dormant. They were not discovered.
Right. They were not discovered. They were kind of masked, but you say by like
Yes,
the
masked.
system, like
Yes,
teachers
systems.
and parents.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
right.
it's like when you don't have that system anymore, you
Yeah,
grow out
that's
of it,
right.
but you still have the symptoms, right?
Yeah,
You might.
exactly. That's why ADHD has become more increasing among adulthood.
Yes. So for kids that may be diagnosed with ADHD, isn't it important to stress that not every child who, for example, 공부가 힘들다, 공부를 잘 못한다, it doesn't mean that automatically, my kid has ADHD. We shouldn't
No.
look to that as an answer, right?
No.
Okay.
That's a very important point.
Yes.
If you wanna. ADHD patients have three typical symptoms. Attention problem.
Yes, you can't pay attention.
Yeah, attention problem. And also impulse control problem.
Yes, you mentioned that one.
Yes,
Right.
impulse planning and organizing problems.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
those things. But impulse control, when they have this kind of issue,
Yes.
they have to vent to their frustration and things like that. Sometimes they're going overboard and being hyperactive.
Right.
But usually those to do with boys.
Yeah, and I've done a lot of reading on this,
Yeah.
and they said the studies say it is different for boys and girls, generally speaking, in terms of how it like the I guess the symptoms present themselves. 다르다고 하던데
That's
맞죠?
right. That's right.
Okay.
But those kind of symptoms become obvious when they get older. So anyhow, if it's not properly treated during their childhood,
Yes.
their brain cells might be a little bit affected by that one, and then most of them have a comorbidity if it's not properly treated at a critical time.
Okay.
So those comorbidity includes depression and anxiety, and so low self-esteem. That's why early detection is more important, and also proper treatments.
And so, if I would ask you for your you always have a really good quote at the end. What might that be?
Okay, every brain has their unique kind of a preference or favoritism. So different brains are not broken brains.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And also our brain, if you want to have your kids increase your brain power,
Yes.
I think the most important thing is sleep well. Because sleep well, and also exercise.
Yes.
Exercise. If you exercise, your muscle produces two very important critical neurotransmitters that increases your brain sprouting and brain development.
Yes.
And also eat well, because a lot of processed foods and a lot of these days a lot of kind of digital stuff things too also that it might have a very bad effect on their kids' brain or brain too.
Yes. Great points that you make. Thanks for schooling us on ADHD. And of course, we look forward to next week. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody, this was Ask a Doctor to You. And it's time to wrap up our first hour already, if you can believe. So Leah Neem said, oh, any Bruno Mars song, please. And so here you go. This is Uptown Funk by Mark Ronson featuring Bruno Mars. I'll be back at 8.
Dope. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do.
This is that ice cold Michelle fight for that white gold. This one for them hood girls, them good girls, straight masterpieces. Styling, wildin', living it up in the city. Got Chuck's on with Saint Laurent. Gotta kiss myself, I'm so pretty. I'm too hot. Call the police and the fireman. I'm too hot. Call the bag and wanna retire, man. I'm too hot. Say my name, you know who I am. I'm too hot. And my band bought that money. Break it down. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. Saturday night and we in the spot. Don't believe me, just watch. 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 Hey, oh! Stop. Wait a minute. Fill my cup, put some nigga in it. Take a sip, sign the check. Julio, get the stretch. Right to Harlem, Hollywood, Jackson, Mississippi. If we show up, we gon' show out. Smoother than a fresh drop. Skip it. I'm too hot. Call the police and the fireman. I'm too hot. Call the dragon, wanna retire, man. I'm too hot. Say my name, you know who I am. I'm too hot. And my band bought that money. Break it down. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. Saturday night and we in the spot. Don't believe me, just watch. Come on. Don't believe me, just watch. 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 Don't believe me, just watch.
Your bridge to the world.
시속 30km 이하 서행, 스코존 내 불법 주정차 금지, 차량 출발 전 앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 3. 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전. 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
아이들과 함께 영어를 쉽고 재밌게 BEFM Kids 채널 특집 공개 방송 BEFM Kids 영어랑 놀자 Play with English Hello, I'm DJ 윤지 글로벌 다디 샘 해밍턴과 윌 벤더스 영어 교육가 이보영 그리고 귀염둥이 부기까지 총출동합니다. 선물이 팡팡 영어 퀴즈 신나는 싱얼롱 타임까지 절대 놓치면 안 되겠죠? 영어가 더 재밌어지는 시간 3월 28일 토요일 오후 2시 영도 국립해양박물관 1층 로비에서 만나요. 신청 및 자세한 내용은 부산영어방송 홈페이지를 참고해 주세요.
지금 방송 광고라는 부메랑을 던져보세요. 소비자를 향해 정확히 날아가는 광고. 힘차게 돌아가는 경제. 부메랑처럼 다시 기업의 이익으로 되돌아오니까요. 방송 광고, 경제에 큰 힘이 됩니다. 부산 방송광고발전협의회.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Welcome back, everybody. It's 8 o'clock, and this is Spotlight News. E hails homegrown KF-21 fighter jets as historic. President Lee Jae-myung yesterday touted the country's first mass-produced homegrown KF-21 fighter jets as a symbol of aspirations for self-reliant defense, vowing to make South Korea one of the world's top 4 defense powers. Speaking at a ceremony for the first delivery of the fighter jets, Lee also pledged to invest more in high-end aircraft technologies. South Korea launched the KF-21 development program in 2015 to acquire a homegrown supersonic fighter to replace the Air Force's aging fleet of U.S.-made F-4 and F-5 jets. Changwon-dae reassures stable LNG supply as emergency UAE oil arrives. The presidential office confirmed that a Qatari state-owned energy company has not formally decided to suspend its long-term liquefied natural gas or LNG contract with South Korea, reassuring a stable LNG supply even in case of such suspension. A Changwon-dae official said that the government is closely monitoring the situation and has a steady flow of LNG from non-Middle East sources. In the meantime, the Korea National Oil Corporation announced that 2 million barrels of oil have arrived from the United Arab Emirates, or UAE. The first of 24 million barrels of emergency oil Seoul has secured from the UAE. South Korea's birth rate rises to 0.99 in January. South Korea recorded nearly 27,000 births in January as the total fertility rate inched closer to 1, according to the Ministry of Data and Statistics. The figure marked the highest number of babies born in January since 2019. The total fertility rate reached 0.99, the highest since record compiling began in 2024. The Commission on the Low Birth Rate said that this was due to the increase in the population of those in childbearing ages and a rise in marriages. The Commission said it will continue supporting work-life balance policies. U.S. claims negotiations continue as Iran continues denial. Well, the White House said that the U.S. is very close to meeting its core objectives in Iran and that the negotiations were ongoing. But Iran's foreign minister denied direct negotiations were taking place. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that messages have been conveyed by friendly countries, but that this does not amount to dialogue nor negotiation. Meanwhile, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres called the Middle East conflict out of control, adding that it was high time for the U.S. and Israel to end their war and for Tehran to stop attacking its neighbors. Trump-Xi summit to take place in Beijing in May. The White House said that the summit between U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping will take place in Beijing on May 14th to 15th. After it was postponed because of the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt added that President Trump will also host President Xi for a reciprocal visit to Washington, D.C. at a later date to be announced this year. The summit comes as Washington seeks to address a series of issues with Beijing, including trade in agricultural products and critical minerals. This was Spotlight News. It's time for a special interview on this Thursday morning. Everyone we know these days has a smartphone. Most of us do. And I don't know how many times you check your phones. It's countless, isn't it? Well, have you ever wondered whether you might be addicted to your phone? A recent study from the Korea Institute of Child Care and Education found that high school students spend around 6 hours a day on smartphones and PCs, yet most consider their usage to be normal. In contrast, many parents believe their children are at risk of addiction, revealing a striking gap in perception. With that in mind, today we'll explore what actually defines smartphone addiction and when everyday use becomes a problem. Joining us today is Dr. Anna Lemke, professor and medical director of addiction medicine at Stanford University School of Medicine and a diplomate of the American Board of Psychiatry and Neurology, and also the American Board of Addiction Medicine. Hi, thanks for coming on air with us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yes. So as we rely on smartphones, so much throughout our daily lives, the line between normal use and addiction can feel blurred. So from your perspective, doctor, how should we define smartphone addiction?
Smartphone addiction is defined similarly to addiction to other behaviors like gambling or sex or to drugs or alcohol. Basically, addiction is the continued compulsive use of a substance or a behavior despite harm to self and or others. We look for 4 core features: out of control use, compulsive use, craving, and especially continued use despite consequences. Sometimes we're aware of those consequences, but often we're not. Only other people can see that we're getting addicted, even when we can't see it.
Thank you for breaking it down for us. And in looking at some of the early behavioral or psychological signs that someone's smartphone use might be becoming problematic, what do you think are the earliest signs?
Things to look for include trying to cut back, but repeatedly not being able to. Lying about use is also potentially a problem. Finding that we are spending way more time than we wanted to, and especially the key piece of it tipping over into consequential use. That is getting more depressed, getting more anxious, getting more distractible, not completing work assignments, not completing school assignments, having it interfere with interpersonal relations, interfere with sleep, and other opportunity costs, just all of the other things we're not doing because we're spending so much time on our phones.
Yes, indeed. And so when we look at the research shows that many teens believe that their phone use is normal. And here in Korea, I talked about that study where, it's 6 hours a day, high school students, which seems to me an awful lot, but they seem to think it's normal. And parents like myself, we think that might be a little excessive. So why do you think there's such a big gap, even in the perception of what might constitute too much versus this is normal?
I think you've got a couple phenomena going here. You've got the what I talked about, this issue of denial, where we can't see when our use becomes problematic or addictive, even when other people can see it. Mm-hmm. But you also have the issue that phone use has become so normalized in our culture that we essentially, both individually and collectively, are not recognizing the harms for what they are. What we're seeing in Korea is exactly what we're seeing in the US in terms of parents being the ones to really raise the alarm and say, hey, we have a serious problem going on here, and I alone am not going to be able to solve this problem because my kid is using their phone late at night in bed when I have no idea and can't monitor them. They're using their phone in school, in the bathroom. So I think it's really this recognition that the harms accumulate slowly over time, and it's not really easy to see cause and effect until we've already tipped over into that problematic or addictive use.
I see. Well, we often hear about and talk about teens being glued to their phones, but what about adults? Because I do hear about, we say it jokingly, like we even go to the bathroom with our phone. Some people, like even as they're taking a shower, they'll take their phone into the bathroom with them and then have something playing as they're taking a shower. So it's quite common, actually. I've heard people say this. So in terms of how we think about smartphone addiction across different age groups, are we being biased towards teenagers as we as adults, we're probably maybe doing the same thing?
Oh, I absolutely agree with you. Adults are also struggling with excessive, problematic, addictive use, and especially older people who are often, by virtue of geography or medical handicaps, more isolated. They are spending many, many hours a day and really developing serious problems as a result of excessive digital media and social media use. So this is a big problem. It's also a big problem in terms of parents because, of course, we model what our, the behavior that we model is the behavior that our kids will engage in.
Right.
And if we tell our kids to get off the phone, but we're now modeling excessive addictive use, they're going to, do the same. So I think parents in particular have to be really intentional about trying to have a healthy relationship with their phones and to be really present and not on their devices when they're with their kids.
Great point that you make. And in your experience, are there particular ways people use their phones that tend to lead to addiction? Is it really social media? I mean, that's a whole debate right now. There are cases in the courts all over the world regarding, whether companies knowingly, they provide addictive content, but that's a whole different discussion. But in terms of whether it's the social media apps or are there other things that make it more addictive, what do you think?
Well, there are certain design features that can be found across many different types of platforms that make the medium more reinforcing. These are things like the algorithm that tailors the video feed or the content for the individual user based on what they've liked before. The algorithm also intentionally interjects novel content that user has never seen before as a way to overcome boredom or tolerance. The quantifications, the likes, the number of likes, posts, shares, comments contributes to the addictive nature of it. You've got infinite scroll, the autoplay, the short form video. There are so many features that add to it, creating a kind of engineered FOMO or slot machine effect, where there's this sense of urgency about needing to be on all the time so that you don't miss out, and this when you're not on it, you're missing something really important.
Indeed. And I would like to take a look at some of the mental and emotional and even physical effects of excessive smartphone use that people might overlook, and we might be exhibiting some of those signs. So what might that be?
There are lots of potential negative consequences of excessive smartphone use. They include depression, anxiety, loneliness, isolation. The more time that we spend on these platforms, the more likely we are to be cyberbullied, sexually exploited in some way. There's also the risk of eating disorders, body dysmorphia, and even self-harm and suicide. And this is directly correlated to time spent. So the more time spent, the higher the risk of developing these negative health consequences.
Yes, indeed. And, for someone who might be worried about their own smartphone usage and obviously maybe their child or their children's smartphone usage that might be excessive, what are some practical steps that we can actually do in real life?
Some practical steps are to make the platform itself less reinforcing by going grayscale, turning off notifications, actually deleting the history so that you don't get the automatic feed. You have to type in or search for what you're looking for. Another potentially, really important intervention is to try hard to avoid what I call chronic sedentary feeding. So chronic sedentary feeding is actually from the diabetes medical literature, showing that people who become overweight and develop diabetes are snacking all day long. I think we can analogize that to digital media. It's the number of sessions, it's the constantly checking all day long that I think is really bad for our brains. What would be better is if we consolidate our time spent on social media to a discrete period of time in the day when we can go through, answer texts, look at our social media feed or whatever it is, and then also limit that time. There's a lot of data showing that once kids in particular start to exceed 2 hours a day of social media, their risk of depression, anxiety, et cetera, goes up. So avoid the chronic sedentary feeding, consolidate, recreational or brain rotting use to a discrete period of time in the day, avoid multiple sessions, and then limit that time to no more than 2 hours a day.
Right. And I want to squeeze in one last question.
Sure.
Would it help to set time restraints? I know it's really difficult for teenagers, but to have those types of parameters, maybe, as a family, setting it like, let's set it as a max 2 hours for you, but 2 hours for me as well. Would something like that also go, a ways in trying to help this situation?
Absolutely. And when we work with kids with social media addiction, we work with the entire family, changing the environment, getting the screens out of the bedrooms, intervening on the parental behavior, discrete limits, doing this kind of limiting of time spent on devices all together as a family, committing to tech-free spaces like, hey, no devices when we're eating, right? And no devices in the beds and no devices after 8 p.m. And also importantly, it's not just what we need to avoid, it's also what we want to approach. So coming up with alternative, healthier, non-device related activities, like in families playing board games, going for nature walks, not having a device there. In the United States, we're starting to see things like smartphone-free restaurants, bars, and comedy clubs, where people commit to not using their devices collectively at the same time in a discrete space.
What a great idea. Well, thank you so much for all the great information that you've given us today. Wishing you the very best. Thank you.
Thank you.
This was Dr. Anna Lemke, and we had a discussion about smartphone usage and, of course, whether it's excessive usage or it goes into the territory of addiction. I hope that we can all check ourselves before we criticize our kids and others as well. And I'll be back with your traffic and weather.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning입니다.
Good morning.
좋은 아침입니다.
Morning wave in Busan.
Morning wave in Busan.
Morning wave in Busan. Major news, local buzz, and expert takes. It's all here on Morning Wave in Busan. Brighten up your morning commute with Morning Wave in Busan.
Morning Wave in Busan.
It is now 8:18 on the dot right now. And here's your traffic update. All right, there is an accident at the entryway to the Nama Expressway on the Deokjeon ramp. A cargo truck and car-related accident. There's another accident on Suyeongno from Daenam intersection to KBS 3-way intersection. This collision is between a car and a cargo truck right past Daenam. There's congestion on the top portion of the Gwangan Bridge, and it is backed up on Hakjang-ro from Busan Detention Center to Hakjang intersection. Also busy on Daedong-Hwamyeong Bridge on the top portion going towards Anmak Ramp. Currently, it is 9 degrees. The air quality back to normal, so you don't have to wear a mask if you don't want to. And it's going to go up to 19, so nice and warm. Across the nation, some areas it's going to get real warm. Like we're talking 23 degrees. However, right now in Gangwon, it's still really cold. Thick fog in the capital area, Chungcheong and Jeolla, to the point that flights may not be able to take off. So you need to check ahead of time if you have travel plans. This was your traffic and weather. It is time for wa글와글 tea time. Haley's back.
Hello. Before we start, though, can we talk about that interview?
Yes.
Because I think if you're not even I'm not a parent. If you're a smartphone user,
yes,
which so all of us,
did we all feel guilty a little?
I always feel guilty,
Okay.
but I think this was like one of the best interviews I've heard about like concrete tips and like really helpful tips.
Yes.
Especially that novelty part in your algorithm, because I like pride myself on building my algorithm, but then it'll sometimes pop in with random stuff that I'm not interested in.
Yeah.
Because I'm wondering why.
Yeah.
That's why, to prevent boredom.
Yeah, there have been some like weird ones that popped in. I'm like, wait, I didn't even I've never searched for this.
Exactly. What makes you think I'd be interested? But that's like it's to keep you on longer. But
Now I
knowing
know.
the system kind of helps you fight it almost.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I don't know. That was really helpful.
I'll share with you offline what came up, and it was like not safe for work. I was like, I've never clicked on this. Why would this pop up? And
Are
then,
you sure?
I'm sure. Okay. Maybe the phone was listening to us. But anyhow, let's get to our first topic. Our listeners are tuning in on their morning commute, some of them on crowded subways. So let's talk about this issue. And I covered it, yes, definitely during the opening.
Right. So let's actually get deeper into this issue, because I do have data on this debate about the senior free rides, especially during a specific time.
Right.
So according to Seoul Metro, so keep in mind this is data related to the Seoul City subway,
Right.
about 8% of passengers during rush hour, they were seniors riding on the free ride benefits. 8%. Specifically, 85 million from last year. And rush hour, we're talking right now, 7 to 9 a.m. and 6 to 8 p.m.
Right.
Although the highest ratio of senior riders was early morning, I've definitely felt this because sometimes I will take the subway into work. So
Yes.
I'm on like the 5:50 train, and it's like a handful of like younger-ish, like my age people, like 30s and 40s, and our eyes are dead. We're just like, we're shells of our souls just on the subway, and then you see seniors in their hiking gear, and they're on their social, whatever. And in that time, before 6 a.m., a third of the riders are seniors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. So obviously this has become a hot button topic during the cabinet meeting this week, right?
Right, so this is linked to the Middle East conflict because there are efforts to cut down on fuel usage now with the 5-day no driving rotation mandatory for public institutions. So some public institution workers, teachers, government servants, they are required to take the subway if they're not carpooling or take the bus. So that means the subways will be even more crowded. I've definitely felt that this week, even before the rotation system.
Right.
So President Lee Jae-myung during the cabinet meeting said that it would be harsh for everybody if the subways are too crowded during the rush hour. And he proposed limiting seniors free rides for about an hour or two, at least during these peak hours. But he also acknowledged that some seniors do still work and they are maybe on the subways because they're going to work. So he therefore directed the government to look into ways to be able to distinguish this.
Okay, but yes, opinions are divided on this.
Right, because, some seniors say they already don't take the subway during the peak hour because they don't want to get in the way of younger people going to work. But that these limits would actually make them feel very unwelcome, kind of like 눈치 봐. But some did agree with the proposal. And experts do call for a fundamental approach, saying that in some other countries, this time restriction, that's already in place. And then also these discussions are overdue, not only about the time limits, but even raising the age of the free riders, because currently it's at 65.
Right.
But the country's healthy life expectancy is up to 73, so should be raised that age.
Well, that's why it's such a difficult issue. We're all going to get that age at some time, right? So, okay, we'll see. Thanks for getting into the details. Up next, the CEO of the car parts plant in Daejeon, that, of course, the fatal fire. Well, he is now under some controversy.
Right. So what we have seen of the CEO, Son Joo-hwan of Anjan Industrial, was that he immediately apologized to the families and issued a public apology on the company's site. But what's been happening behind the scenes might tell a different story.
Right.
So according to reports, Son verbally lashed out at the employees over this accident and also over the media reports.
Yes.
So he has been booked for the violation of the Serious Accidents Punishment Act and the Occupational Safety and Health Act. And the company's union is in the process of trying to figure out what happened.
So what did he allegedly say?
Right. So there was a company meeting after that fire, and the voice recording was released by SBS. Here, he was talking about the 14 employees who died.
Okay.
And he asked the employees, quote, "Do you know who burned to death? It is those who walked out or came out late." And he told the employees, that's why you cannot come out late. And he said that a lot of the deceased were the on-site supervisors, and they apparently died while making sure that the others got out safe. So he compared their action to a mom looking back at her burning home to make sure that her kids got out okay and were not, quote, burning to death. However, according to the report and from what I gleaned from the recording, this wasn't said in a revering or respectful manner.
Right.
He also expressed frustrations at media reports that had said that he often spoke in a verbally harassing manner, let's just say, and asked, quote, which expletive talk to the press about this. And somebody apparently in the meeting said, they have to go and speak to the family of the deceased. And he at that point said, I don't care about the families or otherwise expletive.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, the union said they were looking into the details and the company has not issued a statement about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
In light of the fact that this was such a tragedy and to hear that, okay. Let's move on. We've been covering what President Donald Trump has been saying about the war in Iran, which seems to change, frequently, almost daily. But some foreign press outlets, they have identified a pattern.
With the stock market.
Ooh.
Right. So just this week, let's go over what he said.
Okay.
On Saturday, so this is all local time, it started off with a 48-hour ultimatum on Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz,
yes.
right? Otherwise, they will see their energy infrastructure, quote, obliterated.
Sure.
And then on Monday, President Trump extended that deadline to 5 days and claimed that his administration is holding negotiations with Iran. Iran has denied, and that's still ongoing. Well, CNN has connected the dots and alleges that this may be linked to the financial markets.
Oh, really? So let's go through the timeline now with the markets.
Right. So if you're an investor, you know this better than anyone. But the comment, there's plenty of evidence that, this comment about the 5 days extension, that came shortly before the U.S. market was due to open Monday morning.
Okay.
Because with the 48-hour ultimatum, it was a near certainty that the U.S. market was going to have a brutal day because the Asian markets, including us, that opened a day earlier because of the time difference, well, on Monday, the Korean stock market saw a black Monday with stocks falling over 6%. So that's this week.
Okay.
Let's go back 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, President Trump told a reporter that the war was, quote, very complete pretty much, and that sent the stock numbers much, much higher. However, after markets closed on that day, he told Republicans that the U.S. hadn't won enough.
Oh, okay. Well, these aren't just limited to this particular conflict, it seems.
Right. So let's go back to Liberation Day, right? Last April, the press conference was scheduled for 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Okay.
However, after he talked for a while, he actually announced the details of Liberation Day, the tariffs, after markets closed at 4:30 p.m. So we're talking about minutes.
Okay.
And then a week later, of course, that led to a historically rough week for the stock market worldwide. He posted minutes after the markets opened at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Basically, be cool. This is a great time to buy. Everything's going to work out.
Okay.
So that just kind of continued on and on. CNN also cites cases from October 10th when he announced a 130% tariff on China 20 minutes after markets closed for the weekend. Last one, January 21st, announcement that he wouldn't aggressively move in on Greenland, because remember that was a whole thing. That was 20 minutes before markets open. So overall pattern of these kind of hawkish comments coming out after markets closed and the more dovish comments before they open.
I see. And this is a strategy that's often used by companies, no?
Right. So I'm not saying this is unique to the U.S. president, but companies often will make announcements that can impact their stock markets either before or after markets open, market hours rather.
Okay.
So investors have time to kind of digest, cool off before panic dumping their stocks. Governments often do this. That's why we sometimes get bad news on Fridays. That's kind of known as a news dump. So people have the weekend to digest, or maybe they won't be paying too much attention on a Friday.
Yes, yes. All right. As this is going on, a more conspicuous move has been noted on the oil market.
So again, we're going back to that Monday comment about the 5-day extension for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz.
Sure.
Because some traders bet hundreds of millions of dollars on oil contracts minutes before this announcement. So reports say that the volume of trade spiked around 15 minutes before President Trump's social media posts about that 5-day extension.
Okay, so what happened after the announcement?
Right, because, well, he sent out this more conciliatory message. Price of oil fell sharply. We're talking 14-minute drop in a matter of minutes.
Okay.
So traders who made these bets minutes before made huge amounts of money. And we'll get to how much in a bit. But some market analysts say that this unusual activity, it kind of opens up a possibility. Hints of kind of an insider trading. Some having prior knowledge of what was going to happen before they hedged their bets.
Sure.
Well, a White House spokesperson told the Financial Times that it did not tolerate any administration official illegally profiteering off of insider knowledge.
Well, this is not the first time that U.S. foreign policy has been linked to conspicuous betting.
Right. Let's go to January because there's this platform called Polymarket, which is a crypto-powered predictions platform. It's basically a betting platform. Some gamblers bet on Venezuelan former president, then President Nicolas Maduro, being out of power by the end of that month.
Oh.
Hours later, he was taken out by American forces.
Oh, okay.
So one particular account at that time made a $32,000 bet. More than 10 times, wound up making $436,000.
Wow.
So 6 figures.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay, interesting.
So those are the dots. Connect them as you will. But
Yes. Well, we're going to leave it at that. Thank you for all the Woggly news, and we'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
Have a great day.
All right, it is time for a little song break. This is a song request from Michael saying he's addicted to Morning Wave in Busan. So here it is. For You, 중독된 사랑 by 조장혁.
이렇게 너의 집까지 오고
It is time for Cultural Interlude, and spring has sprung in the studio because we have Han. Woohoo!
Good morning.
You're just like a breath of fresh air. I love it.
Hello, yes. I've got some flowers on my pink cardigan.
Is that like, did you
I embroidered myself
You did?
yesterday night. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm so gullible.
Just
I'm like,
for morning
no,
wave.
because it's so beautiful.
It is, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's a little small, but I like it so much that I just had to wear it.
No. Perfect fit.
Yeah.
The color, so vibrant.
Aw,
For
thank
those of you
you.
who are not on our YouTube channel, she's wearing this bright fuchsia.
Yes.
Color
It
of the
is
day.
fuchsia, isn't
It is,
it?
right?
Yeah.
It's very fuchsia.
Yeah.
Some people say hot pink fuchsia, magenta.
Embroidery is, I see embroidery everywhere right now.
It's hot right now.
It is, right?
It is. It's a thing right now. That's why I was thinking, did you like do it?
No, I just
okay.
like it just grabbed me, yeah.
All right. So Han is in here for Cultural Interlude.
Yes.
Michael's away. So what do you have for us today?
Okay, so today we're talking about one of the biggest cultural events of the year so far.
Okay.
Not just in Korea, but I would say all around the world.
Are we talking about?
BTS's comeback concert.
Yes.
It took place last Saturday in Seoul.
Yes.
And I mean, it was a big moment.
It was a concert, and like I felt like, putting not just BTS back like in the spotlight, but like kind of like almost the country in the spotlight.
Definitely. K-culture kind of like back having a hot
Right.
moment. it
And then
feels.
like because of who put it on, obviously, Thing, right?
Yeah.
They do things on a different scale.
They do.
The shots were like, whoa, like, the wide shots, the close-ups. I mean, I have to say.
I mean, I'm not even an ARMY.
Yeah.
But I am a fan of them, and I burst into tears several times.
No, it's like I had the same reaction because like I was out to dinner, and then it was my sister, her husband, and then my husband, the four of us.
Yeah.
And then I had it on. And then
When it was like
yeah,
happening.
like on while it was happening, like kind of peeking, even though it was dinner. I know it's so rude. I normally don't, but it was like live, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I was peeking, and then like everybody's like, "Are you ARMY?" I'm like, I'm not an official ARMY, but it was just like it was a moment though. I just wanted to see it live.
It was.
right.
Yeah, I would have had FOMO if I wasn't tuning in right at the moment.
I get you.
Yeah, and I had to like explain. Our family was together, and my brother was like, "What are you crying?" I'm like, "No, I'm not crying. You're crying." It happened, yeah. So it was definitely a huge event.
Yes.
And it just opened up a lot of bigger conversations about art, identity, and what K-pop represents now.
Yes.
So, yes, let's talk about why it felt bigger than just a typical idol comeback.
Yes.
It was the location, too.
It was just like like I said, like with it in the backdrop in Gwanghwamun Square, you can see the palace, and it was just like
it already like set the tone from the beginning because Gwanghwamun is one of the most symbolic public spaces in Korea.
True.
It's it's tied to history, civic life, linking Korea's royal past with our modern democratic identity.
Yes.
So yes, very much a historical landmark, and so setting the setting alone was very significant.
Indeed,
Yeah.
I agree because I like went to Gwanghwamun Square a few weeks back, and I was like, I remember looking at it like, so this is like I couldn't imagine how it would be like illuminated the way it was with the stage setup in front of it. So I was kind of trying to imagine like, what's it going to look like? That's why I tuned it because I was so curious.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. So it almost felt ceremonial at times, and it was ripe with meaning and symbolism. And the title of the album too.
Yes.
Right?
I mean, 아리랑.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so like telling.
Such a symbol of the Korean resilience. So it immediately, just the title of the album alone, it taps into something very deeply Korean and emotional. It's so interesting. When I lived in the States, even, my Korean American friends who had never been to Korea.
Yes.
I think something about the melody of 아리랑.
Oh, yes. I totally agree.
Swells something in everyone.
And it's like, even if you don't know the history, it's like something comes like from within the wells.
Absolutely.
Right. Something comes
right?
up. I agree.
Yes.
And, talking about like symbolism, like I'm sure that's not the reason why, but people are like, 아리랑 has 7 letters, like the 7 members. I mean, they're like really, really reading into it. I was like, it never even crossed my mind.
What do we call them? The goose, little, like finding little...
Oh yeah.
Secrets.
Like secret, like hidden.
Yeah.
I know.
Haley will let us know.
Yes. Haley, look it up. Yes, we know you know.
Yeah, so it
Yes.
wasn't just entertainment. There was a lot of cultural messaging.
Yes.
So let's get into the artistic side of it.
Yes.
So many people felt that the message was, even when you're this huge in the business, you can go global without becoming bland.
Oh.
Because what happens to a lot of artists that become globally successful is they tend to go more neutral.
That's true.
In the past, right?
Right.
So often there's an erasure of national or ethnic texture. But BTS is leaning the other way here with their comeback. So saying that we can go bigger by going more specific.
Yeah.
And this makes sense because when it comes to art, the more personal it is, the more universal it is.
Right. And like even what they wore, like if you weren't in the know, you probably saw some of the wisps of the flowy, some material coming in and out.
Yeah.
But it was all a very hanbok and like Korean tradition inspired.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it was weaving in all of these traditional Korean imageries and sounds. Like you said, references to the costume elements, the drums, the traditional vocalists.
Yes.
And some articles described the whole performance as a layered work of cultural storytelling that was rich with symbolism.
I like that, the way they put it. So it definitely felt like it wasn't like decoration. It wasn't just like an afterthought, like, let's throw in some hanbok.
Yeah,
let's throw in like...
Because when that happens, we notice it.
We notice it and we feel it. I mean, we're in tune, right? So and so it felt very intentional.
Definitely, yeah. So that's what made it more artistically interesting. The heritage becoming the part of the performance language.
Yeah. So definitely. So like I said, I was at dinner, so I felt I was being rude, so I had to turn it off. And then like I went home, and then afterwards I watched it from the beginning again because I wanted to. Because I knew we were going to talk about it, not with you necessarily, but like throughout the week. It was such a big event. So do we think part of the emotional reaction was maybe nostalgia?
I think so, because fans have been waiting for this for 4 years.
Yes.
4 long years. And I think what got me like very emotional was whenever the cameras panned to the reactions of the fans.
Oh, yeah, true.
I was like, they really, this is the joy in their faces.
Right.
So, it was their first full group live concert. And, so there was a lot of like emotion and there was a sentimental element, but it felt more like this big reset. The new chapter of BTS.
Right, they mentioned it, right? Like straight up, they're like, this isn't, just like one off like a concert, but it's like the beginning of a new chapter.
And I don't know, but I kind of read that it was kind of very endearing that they all looked nervous too.
Yeah.
Like,
because it's been a few years.
And it's nice to know that even BTS can feel vulnerable like that. Oh, are they going to...
We're not the only ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was a version of them that they wanted to present now and defining this new era by reconnecting with the roots.
Right. And so once again, going back to the whole title, because we want to tie it, of course, not just talking about the group itself, but like the cultural meaning and the feelings behind the word, the song.
Definitely.
And of course, our variations of arirang. It's not just one arirang. I know the most common one, we hear it and we feel that like swell coming up, but there are very iterations of arirang,
and
right?
I bet a lot of non-Koreans around the world might start researching some of the history into that. And now we can't talk about BTS without talking about economy, right?
Yes.
So the fans who came to this concert, they weren't just buying tickets or merch,
right?
They were. It's a whole domino effect, right?
Yes.
So they're booking hotels, restaurants, shopping, going to beauty salons, all of that.
Yes.
So it tells us that this isn't just a concert economy, it's a cultural tourism economy.
Right. And every time we have like a major concert, whether it be BTS or even Taylor Swift, right? Where there is a huge economic effect. I mean, we can't ignore that part.
Yeah. So Reuters reported that the BTS World Tour is estimated to generate 8 trillion won across 44 host cities, combining direct revenue and related spending.
8 trillion. 1,000,001.
Yeah.
That's like mind-boggling.
It's
that number.
mind-boggling indeed.
Right.
Yeah.
However, we not only want to sing, the praises, but not everybody loved the scale of this event.
That's true. So this is where the conversation gets a little interesting because Gwanghwamun Square, it's a very public space, right?
It is. Mm-hmm.
But it was reported that the city deployed thousands of, extensive crowd control personnel and measures. So some critics argued that these restrictions were a bit excessive. So, and it also kind of clashed with the symbol of Gwanghwamun being an open civic space.
Oh, okay. Point taken.
Exactly. So,
yes.
It raises the question, what happens when a public square becomes this big stage for global entertainment, right?
Yes.
So, on one hand, it's so thrilling. It even made you look it up, during dinner with your family.
I felt so bad. I was like, okay, I'll turn it off now.
But it is that thrilling to turn heritage space into living culture.
Right.
But on the other hand, it can feel very heavily managed, maybe too commercialized and less public than the word public suggests.
Right. And I've heard some of the criticism public resources going to it isn't a private company, a high meaning, of course it has its, its shareholders and whatnot, but it's, it's not like a public
exactly
entity. So I don't know. Well, moving on though, what do you think this tells us about K-pop right now though?
So it says that K-pop is doing more than just making catchy music. It's carrying a lot of weight.
Yes.
It's image making, storytelling, tourism, and indeed soft power.
Yeah.
And it seems like BTS is really in the center of all of that.
Right.
So, it was this grand scale, the symbolism, cultural presentation all at once. And I think this is going to set the tone for a lot of other K-pop bands and groups too.
I hope so because it's not just focusing on this one particular group or one particular brand, but hopefully that we'll be seeing more of these, acts and groups and singers and performers and not just in terms of music, but we want to see more in terms of theater.
Yeah. And when it comes to art making, I think it's always, being more specific and telling their own story, showing their own cultural heritage. That's always, I think, the best way to go.
Right. Yeah. And I know this is maybe... I want to ask you a personal question because I know many of our listeners know that Han performs live on stage.
Yes.
But do you get butterflies each and every time you go out and you have a mic in your hand?
All the time. But I get that even whenever I get to sit here.
Oh, really?
And I think that's what keeps me coming back. If I didn't feel the butterflies, it wouldn't be meaningful.
Right.
Yeah. How about you? I mean, at this point in your career.
It's like I feel comfortable, but as soon as I hear the BG for the opening of this of our program, I get the butterflies.
Yeah.
It always comes back every morning, and that's why I agree with you. That's what keeps us coming back every time because we enjoy that feeling.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if it's to the point where it makes us sick, that might be an issue. But even De Niro and Al Pacino, those great master actors, they always say too, once you lose that feeling, it's done.
It's done.
So
it's time to hang it up.
Yeah.
Right. So hopefully, we won't lose that feeling at least for a while, right?
And I think it seems like BTS members haven't lost that feeling either.
Okay.
Which is so I think that's the beauty of them.
Well, of course, today in particular, we talked about this particular group, their comeback, but, we talked about, I think also the overall impact, the economic impact, the cultural feels, the identity. So I feel like we covered it all.
There can always be a little bit of controversy, but I'm excited to see how their world tour is going to pan out. And of course, they're coming back to Busan
in June. Yes. So we'll look forward to that as well.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for coming in and giving your take on Cultural Interlude. We loved it.
Oh,
and
it's a delight.
We look forward to the next time you join us.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right, everybody. This was Han once again. She is a performer extraordinaire. So thanks to her. And thank you to all the wavers out there tuning in, chiming in, and connecting with us. I do appreciate it. And our show produced by Choi Ye-ji. We have our writers, Haley Sa, Soo Kim. We also have Hisu PD님 always in the studio with us. I am your host. I'll be back tomorrow. This is Swim by BTS. Bye, everybody.
Watching you swim. This is how it all begins. Swim. I just wanna dive. Bad world, run away. I still wake up in this bad world. Name a place that I can breathe under Just swim, swim. Wanna find off your skin. Swim, swim. I could spend a lifetime watching you swim, swim, swim. This is how it all begins. Swim, swim. I just wanna dive, I just wanna dive. Water so deep, water so deep. Take it off the ground, I ain't never getting cold feet. Yeah, you know me, yeah, you know me. Sitting on the throne, I'm ready for the whole scene. I can feel the high waves coming. Why you run away, you can run it. Salt on my tongue, she's stunning. You're the only place that I wanna be. Yeah, swim, swim. Water falling off your skin. Swim, swim. I could spend a lifetime watching you swim, swim, swim. This is how it all begins. Swim, swim. I just wanna dive, I just wanna dive. Splash, splash, river. Make waves with my two friends. Splash, river. I just wanna take it across the line.